It is the job of the King Peppermint to virtually do cash, and yet in 2017, it did not make a solitary 20p or £2 piece for general circulating. Coinage figures show how, in 2016, it done 213 millionth 20p trimming, but the next year it manufactured no millions of £2 numismatics were cut in 2016, the following year, anything. The mystery is partly responded by the introduce of the 12-sided £1 piece. UK consumer emptied jam jars complete of stored numismatics up shops stopped receiving the old circle pounds. As a outcome, they as well submerged shops and banks in all their some numismatics. It intended, for a year at low, down there were lot of 20p and £2 numismatics to go about and no more than were necessary. The King Peppermint, the cash money processing production, banks and the position office space routinely overview the sum of numismatics circulatory in the framework. The position office space, for sample, is a hard customer of numismatics, and consumer demand tends to grow through the nation in the work up to Yuletide. The Peppermint, a business completely belonging by the Exchequer, as well makes forecasts for the year front on how lot of every name will be necessary. The present background sees a change amongst lot consumer of cash money to non-contact map and digital payments. Any surpluses of numismatics are decirculated at first, up new ones done at the Peppermint in Llantrisson, Southward Wales, are put in circulating. The 12-sided £1 piece introduced circulating for the at first period in March 2017. For 6 months, both of the old Circle LB and the new piece were recognized, before the old style lose its legislative bid statute in October of how year. As a outcome, down there was a top-profile campaigning calling human beings to banking, expend or sacrifice their old £1 numismatics. The nationality emptied saving jars, verified pig banks and looked downward the behind of the sofa for all their friable changing how had been loose or hoarded. As a outcome, down there was a excess of numismatics as human beings banked or consumable all denominations, not fair the outbound £1 piece. The Peppermint had anticipated it, taking into account testimony of such cases across the sea. It was the major question how intended quite 20p and £2 numismatics could be decirculated and how no necessary to be minted how year. This quantities of UK numismatics the King Peppermint is requested to make every year varies on to UK consumer demand for particular denominations at the period. UK numismatics include and spectacular duration, so they don't requirement substitute as frequently as some forms of exchange, a King Peppermint representative told along in the continuing decrease in the quantity of cash money transactions in the UK every year, tool how the UK banks and position office space may not query each name each year if down there is already adequate piece in circulating. Formal figures for 2018 include yet to be published. Not rather. Though down there were no of these numismatics minted for general circulating, several memorable numismatics were done. Yet, see via your friable changing and you would be hardly to discover a 2017 dated back 20p or £2 piece. The is not the at first period how the stamping of specific denominations of numismatics has not been require. No 20p numismatics were minted in 2012, 5p and 10p trimming were not cut at times in the 1970s and 1980s, as was the instance for the ancient, greater 50p for a time in the 1990s, and the circle pounds at times for the identical 10 years. The ordinary piece has a 25 to 30 year duration. Advice on the present mix had in theory endangered the next of 1p and 2p numismatics, but the Exchequer told they would be utilized to year to go. A representative for the Exchequer told, "We include no plans to changing the present do-up of numismatics and notes utilized in the UK, and how includes the £2 and 20p trimming. Our numismatics are of the highest quality assurance and the sum we ask the King Peppermint to make each year depends on consumer demand of banks and position offices.